Owl Nation, it is post-game here from Annapolis, Maryland, where the Owls fall to the undefeated Navy midshipmen 42-32. The Owls cut the lead to 8 points in the second half, and it was one possession game for the majority of the second quarter and the entirety of the third quarter. But penalties that plagued the offense made them settle for field goals, and ultimately they weren't able to finish and come up with the victory. Now back-to-back losses for FAU. Hudson, what are your overall initial reaction now that FAU's 3-5?
Well, JJ, me and you actually had a conversation. We were talking about Indiana, Ohio State, and you actually said it would be more surprising if FAU knocked off Navy rather than Indiana being Ohio State. So I think that actually speaks volume on the pace of how this game was going. And honestly, it seemed like FAU, like you mentioned, was hanging in a one-possession game. They were in there for a majority of the game against an undefeated, really good Navy team. So I think the Owls fought hard, and I think I'm very curious to see what's next for the Owls this season.
Yeah, Hudson, but now that's back-to-back weeks against South Florida. It was an 8-point game, 21-13 in the third quarter, and now you see it again here against Navy, and that's back-to-back weeks where we get it to one possession, but we can't get in the end zone. And the defense, it feels like when the defense steps up, the offense collapses, and when the offense steps up, the defense collapses, and we can't play complementary football when both sides collide and play really solid football on both ends of the ball, and that's really frustrating to me this season. FAU played with penalties throughout the entirety of the game. Very bad with the penalty yards. FAU had 51 penalty yards on 7 penalties. Navy had just 35 penalty yards. I mean, when you have 16 more yards of penalties, that could be the difference in a 10-point game. FAU also allowed 3 sacks. The offensive line wasn't doing their job. And yes, I know Alex Octavius was hurt. Yes, I get it. I know Keon Rowe was hurt. Yes, there's no Madden Sanker for this season. Yes, there's no Keyshawn Sapp. This offensive line is banged up. But still, when you allow that many sacks, it's problematic. Hudson, going forward, if you're Zach Haley, what's your message to the locker room post-game, and how do you get these guys to believe for the remainder of the season?
Well, first of all, I think you have to highlight the positives. If I'm Zach Haley, I got to say, listen, we played the 18th best team in the land, and we hung in there. We played an undefeated, really good Navy team. We hung in there. Now, because we are able to hang in games, we got to finish them. So now coming up, let's fight till the end and finish the games, and we will come out on top. And I think that if Kitley could deliver that message very well, then this FAU team will want to fight and rally behind them and actually finish games rather than not hang in there, think you have a chance, and then just fall dead by the end of the game.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it, Hudson, that those might be the 2 best teams in the conference, maybe you could argue. And FAU hung in there throughout the first 3 quarters against both of them. A bowl game is still on the table. You need to win 3 of the last 5 games to make it. But you still got Tulane on the schedule. How could you not get hyped up for a Tulane team who's probably going to be ranked inside the top 25 by the time that FAU plays them, assuming Tulane wins out? Till that point, the defense has struggled pretty much every week. We've allowed 40 points in, I think it is 4 games this season, 5 games already this season. What do you think needs to tighten up defensively, Hudson, to maybe be able to compete and get a little stress off the offense needing to score on every single drive?
Well, first of all, I think that you cannot let a quarterback like Blake Horvat run over you like that. I mean, that was just absolutely terrible. You thought Byron Brown was a dual threat to watch out for. It was actually going to be Blake Horvat. I think you got to figure out how to contain the quarterback before anything, honestly, on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, and a big thing with that is not only do you have a pure runner quarterback, you also have to be able to tackle. And FAU didn't capitalize on tackles. And when we talked to Coach Kelly, and by the way, 14 missed tackles in the game, that's advanced stats according to PFF. But still, regardless of that, Coach Kelly has talked about eye discipline. That was the number one thing they were improving in practice. Well, it clearly didn't feel like they had that with the fact that there were a lot of plays where FAU missed a tackle and they would be with a mismatch for sure. I think Blake Horvat played a very solid game for him through the ground, 174 rushing yards. We knew what they were going to do, and that's back-to-back weeks where we played a rushing quarterback and couldn't stop him. Their running back, Brandon Chapman, 141 yards rushing. I mean, the team rushed all over us. It felt like Memphis 2.0, over 300 rushing yards. If you are FAU's defense, you talked about you have to stop Blake Horvat, but what do you think has to be the number one thing that Zach Kittley is focused on cleaning up? Is it going to be tackling? Is it going to be scheme rush defense? What do you think it is? Is it the scheme? Is it the game plan? Is it just the talent that we don't have, Hudson?
Well, I do not think it's a lack of talent. Because really tackling is the fundamentals of football. Anyone can make a tackle. It just depends on how your technique is. Tackling is more of a technique. It's not really like a skill. So to be honest with you, JJ, I think that they got to tighten up both, because if you can't make tackles, they're just gonna run over you. And a guy like Blake Horvat is gonna get four rushing touchdowns. And now you didn't have to drop back and throw a passing touchdown. I mean, it's just insane. But honestly, if you're going to have to focus on one, it's got to be the tackling, JJ.
Yeah, 100%. And I agree with you for sure with that sense of it. Also, Caden Velkamp, 25 for 41, 299 yards. The air raid was working. We saw him go deep to Jay-Sean Platt on a plethora of plays. One of those was the early touchdown where he created maybe 8 yards of separation. And going into the game in the preview episode we made, we talked about that FAU's wide receivers are better than Navy's corners. And if FAU wants to win this game, they're going to have to throw the ball 50-plus times. And it looked like they did. Caden Velkamp, threw the ball out. He didn't quite throw it 50 times, or only 41 times, but still, Jay-Sean Platt, 5 catches, 121 yards. That second catch that he had, the one that wasn't a touchdown, man, was that nice. It was, FAU had it on their own 20. Caden Velkamp airs one out. It's probably gets it and caught inside Navy's 40. That was really nice from Jay-Sean Platt. And FAU was able to exploit the secondary. Easton Messer had a quiet night. Only 71 receiving yards, but he did have 8 catches. Crazy to say 8 for 71 is a quiet night, but that's how good Easton Messer has been. Talk about this air raid offense, how you think he did, because I thought it looked really well today.
Well, JJ, you know who my favorite receiver on this FAU team is, right? On the receiving corps. It's none other than the number 0, Sagosim. And I don't know if Sagosim, remember he had a game today or what, but if I'm looking at this stat correctly, it says he only has 13 yards on the day. That just cannot happen when you have a number 1 guy, a threat like a Sagosim in the open field against these Navy defensive backs and safeties. It just cannot happen. I mean, and then, yes, Easton Messer, you said he had a quiet 8 receptions, 71 yards. But Easton Messer, when your number 1 guy, Sagosim, isn't putting up great numbers, you expect to see, I bet Caden Velkamp is spraying if Illicit's taking the ball. But really, only Jay-Sean Platt was really the only one balling out. And Easton Messer is supposed to be the number 1 receiver. I know I'm being tough. I mean, really all you can ask for one of your guys is 71 yards. It's a great, solid game. But to beat an undefeated Navy team, you have to bring your best stuff. And FAU just did not have their best stuff, especially in the receiving corps game.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with you there, Hudson, for sure. And I think one of the main things here that we have to take into consideration is the fact that not only, Hudson, did we see Assad Wasim struggle, we also have J.R. Wilson, who's been out, and he hasn't been up to expectations. Michael Kirch was open down the middle on a multiple plays, and I don't know how you can miss him. He's like a 6'5" type of guy. Caden Velkamp didn't capitalize on him. Again, 54 people live in here, 54 viewers. Type in the chat your thoughts. We want to hear your thoughts. Go over to the YouTube side if you're watching on X to type into that chat, or you can reply on X. We'll be reacting to all your comments, and we're going to get into that in a later segment, Hudson. But yeah, I 100% agree. The rushing game on offense has really struggled. And man, that might be an understatement. And 22 yards for Jamari Sands. Yes, Xavier Terrell is hurt, but Caden Velkamp only 20 yards. A total of 68 rushing yards, Hudson. I get it. It's an air raid offense, right? But still, when you're going to rush the ball with your leading back for 22 yards, you are most likely not going to win the game. Do you think FAU at this point, hang up the running game, go in the portal, spend the NIL money from the boosters on a new back? Is it a fact that these backs like Caden Shields-Dutton, who I think needs to get more involved, or Jamari Sands just aren't talented enough? Or is it more of a fact that the offensive line isn't blocking? Or what do you think is attributing to these rushing struggles?
Well, I really can't stress this enough. Without a running game, you can't win that much games because the running game is actually one of the most vital parts of football. When you need a first down to win the game, run out the clock, you run the ball. When you need to control the game, take control, run out the clock, you run the ball. Running the ball is the most safest part of football, and when you cannot do it effectively multiple times, you're going to lose games. Because if you have a quarterback like Kagan Velkamp, who threw for 299 passing yards, only one pick, is in somewhat of a struggle this season, and you're forced to throw it, it's just not going to be pretty if you're FAU. You got to take the ball out of Velkamp's hands once in a while and be able to trust running backs like Caden Shields-Dutton, Jamari Sands, Xavier Terrell when he comes back. But also, yes, the injury bug has been hitting the running back room. But all three of those guys I just mentioned are capable of providing numbers by themselves. I mean, they are all very talented backs. And I think, to your point, should we go out and spend money on NIL running backs? And the answer cannot be a more resounding yes, because of how important the running back position is.
Yeah, and Coach Perk, the running back coach, you got to assume that he isn't, the most happy. Coach Perk, he's a great guy. Me and Hudson talked to him a lot, but, he can't be that happy with the air raid offense. He's been at FAU since 2019. He's a guy who is very familiar with this program, and this is an FAU team who is used to having great backs. Devin Singletary, Zuberi Mobley. The list goes on, and there have been a plethora of running backs who have been sent to the NFL from this FAU team, and this year we just don't have that. And maybe it's because we didn't get a back from the portal. Maybe we see Ethan Irvin more involved, the young freshman. But when you give Caden Shields-Dutton only 3 carries, I mean, you can't let him do anything. And me and Hudson both thought he was the most talented back going into the season. And still, in those 3 carries, he made the most of it. He rushed for 9 yards. It's not terrible with his 3 carries. And one of those was a 2-yard stop behind the line in which the offensive line completely collapsed. Hudson, I wanted to ask you, because back-to-back weeks now we've seen backup quarterbacks. So last week it was Jordan Magwood, and this week it was Zach Gibson. It seems like Kitley doesn't have a clear QB2. He's really in between. Is it going to be Magwood? Is it going to be Gibson? Is it going to be Valentino? And this was one of the main storylines we talked about. Who do you think outperformed who? Was it Jordan Magwood last week, or was it Zach Gibson this week?
Well, JJ, coming into the season, it wasn't going to be a question. There was going to be a battle for that QB2 spot. There was actually a time where we thought that the QB1 spot could have been up for grabs. But I do believe that I would have never thought that the QB2 battle hasn't been solved by now at this point in the season. But Zach Gibson, he threw 2 passing touchdowns. Do you know who also threw 2 passing touchdowns in this game? His counterpart, Caden Velkamp. And also, Zach Gibson was careful with the football. He throws 0 interceptions. Yes, he came into the game very, very late. And he had 82 passing yards, 9 for 14. That seems like a pretty solid day for just coming in late to the game. But honestly, I think it has to be Zach Gibson that is going to be the QB2. Jordan Magwood just doesn't seem like the passer that Zach Kitley wants. And I think Mike Valentino could also be in the running of things. But I think it's going to be Zach Gibson by a little hair for this QB2 battle.
Yeah, but this is Gibson's last season, right? Velkamp has another season, and we've seen situations like this before with FAU. Gibson's a redshirt senior. This is it for him. The team is 3-5. Caden's been excellent, but do you think that FAU is going to give the only reason they're giving Gibson the playing time is because he's a senior and Magwood's just a freshman? Like, how do you – because I saw a tweet on X, and I want to pull it up here. And I'm not saying I agree with this or disagree with it, but some guy on X FAU guy was saying the only reason that he's in is because he's a senior. What are your thoughts on that? Just wanted to bring that up quickly.
Well, I think Zach Gibson is putting up pretty great numbers, and I think there's no reason why if Kitley is putting him in the game, why wouldn't he be playing in other games? I mean, yes, I mean, to the point of King and Velkamp having another year, I think Kitley might want to squeeze as much as he can out of Zach Gibson this season, his last hurrah on the FAU squad here. So, yeah, there would be no doubt in my mind that I think Kitley continues to roll with some more Gibson flair down the line in the conclusion of this FAU season. But also, I don't think he's playing just because he's a senior. I think he's very talented, and the numbers and stats show it.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you there for sure. Like 3-5 right now, Hudson. It's hard to even put it into words when I thought this was going to be back-to-back weeks. It's the fact that we're plagued with penalties every time that we make it to the red zone, and it feels like whenever a bright moment happens, something bad happens. The fumble recovery that we got, play after that, Dom Henry fumble there for him on a completed pass by Caden Velkamp. Then we get a fumble off a kickoff, and Najon Barber gets after the quarterback on that, and then immediately we turn the ball over. And I want to give shout out to Garrison Smith, the 2 times where we were in the red zone. He was able to capitalize on field goals. The redshirt senior, man, are we lucky to have him. I want to clap it up alone for Garrison Smith. He's 11 for 12. 11 for 12 on the season in field goals. The one miss was a big one from the right hash, with a lot of wind against USF. But other than that, FAU has really figured out with kicking. They've really figured out with punting. FAU went for it on so many 4th downs, Hudson. I can't even keep track of it. First drive of the game. 4th down and 2 from your own 40-yard line. We go for it. We get it. But there were also a lot of 4th downs where we didn't get it. I want to find our percentage on 4th down. I've been looking for it. I'll have it very soon here. But, at some point, that it's working so much. I used to be against it the first couple weeks when it wasn't working, but Kitley's aggressive play calling goes both ways sometimes. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Here, FAU was 7 for 7 on 4th downs. I'm not reading that wrong. FAU went for it
100%.
7 times, and they were 100%, man. I'm really, how do you kind of evaluate this? Because we were talking about how it's too much, and now I feel like if it's working, if it ain't broke, don't fix it,
For sure. I mean, listen, I think Zach Kitley knew from the jump that this Navy team is going to leg up some fireworks on offense. So he knew he was going to have to keep up with them. So I think in his back pocket on those 4th and 2s, 4th and 3s, even a 4th and 4, I would say, he was definitely thinking, I'm going for this. I mean, I have to put up some points. We can't get stopped here. And I think it was great. I mean, 7 for 7, obviously it worked, right? The proof is in the pudding here. So is the Dan Campbell philosophy working at FAU? Yes, it is. And I think it's great. I mean, aggressive play calling. Maybe sometimes it gets you in the bad situations. But right now, it is working. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it, JJ.
100%. And Zach Kitley's a younger guy. He's an offensive-minded guy. He's an air raid type of guy. He learned under Cliff Kingsbury. This is the offensive tree he knows, and that's being aggressive, and that's, going for it on these 4th downs in specific. Let's go over the other scores in the American Conference as we do every single week. Let's start out with the one today, or at 12, the big one against ranked the USF number 18 against a Memphis team who is also very good. FAU saw both of those teams. It was a big win for Memphis there. USF had it. A missed field goal by their kicker, Gramatica, on the last play of the game. Thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, a 52-yard field goal today almost feels like a 20-yard field goal, honestly, in today's kicking. I mean, you look at the NFL, guys like Brandon Aubrey, 60-yarders are down the middle. You almost expected Gramatica to make this one, and that is a huge miss. I mean, now Memphis is obviously definitely going to be ranked now, 1,000%. I mean, are we talking top 15 here, JJ? Is that a possibility for Memphis?
Well, Hudson, do you know Memphis lost last week to 2-5 UAB? who fired their coach.
JJ, listen. They're 7-1. They only have one loss. They're 3-1 in the American. I think it's just a minor bump in the road. They're definitely gonna be ranked. I mean, maybe top 15 is getting ahead of myself, but they will definitely be ranked here.
Yeah, 100%. And I think something big about this game was that Alex Golesh had some questionable decisions. He went for it in the fourth quarter at the 12. He went for it in the fourth quarter with 10 seconds left, which caused a holding call. And this was on the road. USF outplayed Memphis. Brendan Lewis was outdueled today in all phases of the game by Byron Brown. But Rice beat UConn. Wow. That Rice win is looking a lot better. And we play UConn later in the season. I thought this UConn team was better than both Tulane and Memphis. And I had a hot take on that. And that's because UConn beat Boston College. UConn beat FIU by 40. That's huge. Don't want to waste too much time on that. But let's talk about the Temple Tulsa 38-37-1. Actually, we play Tulsa in 2 weeks. So when you're playing an 0-5 team in the American, do you think it's hard to get your guys up for that, Hudson, especially when you've lost back-to-back games for FAU?
I mean, no, not really. I mean, they were really good teams. Like I previously mentioned, we were in those games. It's just about finishing it, and I think we will probably still go bowling. I mean, all we have to do is win 3 out of the 5. To be honest with you, JJ, it's not too hard of an ask. And I think a hot take here. I think we could actually knock off Tulane.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm going to pull up FAU football schedule right here momentarily. We'll discuss the remaining games before we go. This will be the last topic on today, but stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen, to go over the schedule in just a second. We will be right with you after this short break. So here are the remaining games for FAU. You go to Tulsa after the bye week, which is coming up this week. You play Tulane. Tulane is so good, man. Jake Retzlaff is so good. UConn, that's beatable, and East Carolina. You have to win 3 of those games. You can make a bowl at 6-6. Hudson, 4 more or 5? Is that 5 more games? Yeah. No. Wait. Yeah, that's 4 more games. So you have to win 3 of 4 games. Sorry, eyesight, man, problems right there. Gotta look at that better though. But when you look at these 4, Hudson, you play a Tulsa team who's struggling. You play a Tulane team who's on top of the world. I'm already gonna circle that as an L. I think if you go 1-1, you're gonna have 2 opportunities at 4-6 and winnable games at home. And I think FAU can do it. Right now, what do you think is the clearest path to 6? And do you think it happens?
Man, I mean, once you lose to Tulane, it's like you gotta beat UConn, and that's a hard game to get the guys jumping
and
for.
ECU's no walk in the park either.
No, not at all. But forget ECU. If you can't beat UConn, it's over.
I mean, we've seen this so many times, man. And as an FAU fan, I'm tired every single year of going to have 5 wins. Willie Taggart, we haven't made a bowl game since 2019. Think about it, 2019. Willie Taggart, 3 straight years, 5-7. Then 4 wins, 2023, 3 wins, 2024. And it's the fact that we are so close every year, but we're probably going to end up at 5 wins. That's the reality of it. But the FAU team, they got to get stuff fixed in the bye week. I think the most winnable way is you beat Tulsa. You play hard against Tulane. Maybe we keep it within 1 possession like the last 2 games. Maybe something happens. But you get the last 2 games at home. You'll probably be underdogs in 3 of these 4 games. And you do host Tulsa. You get 3 out of 4 at home. I think I think your favorite against Tulsa, and then we're probably underdogs in the last 3. Hudson, any final thoughts before we wrap up today's show? We have 75 people in here. So, again, we'll be reacting to your stuff very soon, replying to all the comments. But any last final thoughts?
One last thought is I think that UConn game is gonna be a really tough game. I mean, even with it at home, I mean, that is a tough game. I mean, going against a 5-2 UConn team. I mean, they just did have a struggle, so maybe FAU could catch them if they're in that game. Maybe they could start to finish a game and knock them off. But I think that is a must-win game. Must-win game.
Yeah, and as you can see, here's a look at UConn's schedule so far. What sticks out to me is the FIU win. Look at that, Hudson. 51-10.
And we lost to FIU in the
We
Sugar
lost
Bowl.
to FIU. You also beat a really good Boston College team who's in the ACC. They're not really good, but compared to FAU standards, they're pretty solid. You also you also kept it to 1 possession against Syracuse. You lost to UConn last year by 50. So that'll be interesting for sure. But yeah, Hudson, we'll continue to keep you guys updated on all the latest news from FAU. And me and Hudson both think this. We hate when FAU loses. We hate talking about an FAU loss because we love this team so much. This is the team that we cover. And we really appreciate you guys sticking with us throughout the tough times. Basketball season is starting very soon. And before FAU plays another football game, they'll be playing basketball. Hudson, you do a great job breaking down FAU as always. Thank you to the viewers. As always, I'm JJ Metz. That's Hudson Friedman. See y'all in the next one. And as always, Hudson, go out.